Oh, okay, so it's not the 9th, it's the 10th. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on the 10th of May. I'm Thundercloud, Mum calls me Jones. Washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rain. Let's have some Wednesday night linguistic games. Oh, well, what am I going to start with? Welcome Ashley, welcome Gabriel. Let's acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we broadcast, the elders past and present, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded and a treaty is being asked for. Not a voice. Right, where do we start? With modern Islamic literature, a book that I was just browsing the other day and come across a bunch of poems, and this one just was by Khan Lari, translated by Omar Pound. It's called Sting and Antidote. Said wasp to bee, they loathe me, stone my nest, smoke me out, and even pay for cyanide to move me. But you, with your hexagons and pollen dances, they house in luxury. Said bee, to sting and still be loved, you must give honey. Interesting.
I read that on the computer and loved that. I had to think
lovely,
about
it. It's really lovely.
I had to think about it.
To sting and still be loved, you must give honey. That's that end bit there, yeah. All right, well, moving on from that into some Australian poetry, and my little focus at the moment is Henry Lawson, learning and reading through some of his poetry and getting to appreciate it. And to start with, I've got three that I've selected here from the poetical works of Henry Lawson, decorated with paintings by Tom Roberts, Arthur Streeton, Frederick McCubbin and others. This was published by Angus and Robinson, and you'll be able to see the bibliography in the description after this. Black Bonnet. A day of seeming innocence, a glorious sun and sky, and just above my picket fence, Black Bonnet passing by. In knitted gloves and quaint old dress, without a spot or smirch, her worn face lit with peacefulness, old Granny goes to church. Her hair is richly white like melt that long ago was fair, and glossy still the old black silk she keeps for chapel wear. Her bonnet of a bygone style that long has passed away, she must have kept a weary while, just as it is today. The parasol of days gone by, old days that seemed the best, the hymn and prayer books carried high against her warm thin breast, as she had clasped, come smiles, come tears, come hardship, aye, and worse, on market days through faded years, the slender household purse. Although the road is rough and steep, she takes it with a will, for since she hushed her first to sleep, her way has been uphill. Instinctively I bare my head, a sinful one, alas, whene'er I see by church bells led brave old Black Bonnet pass. For she has known the cold and heat and dangers of the track, has fought bushfires to save the wheat, and little home outback by barren creeks the bushman loves. In stockman, hut and pen, the withered hands in those old gloves have done the work of men. They called it service long ago when Granny yet was young, and in the chapel sweet and low as girls her daughters sung. And when in church she bends her head, but not as others do. She sees her loved ones and her dead, and hears their voices too. fair as the Saxons in her youth, not forward and not shy, and strong in healthy life and truth. As after years went by, she often laughed with sinners vain, yet passed from faith to sight. God gave her beauty back again, the more her hair grew white. She came out in the early days, green seas and blue and grey, the village fair and English ways seemed worlds and worlds away. She fought the haunting loneliness where brooding gum trees stood, and won through sickness and distress as English women could. By verdant swath and ivied wall, the congregations seen, white nothings where the shadows fall, black blots against the green. The dull suburban people meet and buzz in little groups while down the white steps in the street a quaint old figure stoops. And then along my picket fence where staring wallflowers grow, world-wise old age and common sense, black bonnet nodding slow. But not alone, for on each side a little dot attends in snowy frock and sash of pride. These are Granny's friends. To them her mind is clear and bright, her ideas are new. They know her real talk is right, her fairy talk is true. They converse as grown-ups may, and when the news is told, the one so wisely young today, the two so wisely old, at home with dinner waiting there, she smooths her hair and face and puts a bonnet by with care and dons a cap of lace. The table minds its P's and Q's, lest one perchance be hit by some rare dart which is a part of her old-fashioned wit. Her son and son's wife are asleep. She puts her apron on, the quiet house is hers to keep, with all the youngsters gone. There's scarce a sound of dish on dish or cup slipped into cup when left alone, as is her wish. Black bonnet washes up. And that's it. Black Bonnet by Henry Lawson. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. A tribute to a lovely old lady. And here's one now, a little short one. Rain in the Mountains. The valley's full of misty clouds, its tinted beauty drowning. Tree-tops are veiled in fleecy shrouds, and mountain fronts are frowning. The mist is hanging like a pall above the granite ledges, and many a silvery waterfall leaps o'er the valley edges. The sky is of a leaden grey, save where the north looks surly. The driven daylight speeds away, and night comes o'er us early. Dear love, the rain will pass full soon, far sooner than my sorrow, but in a golden afternoon the sun may set tomorrow. That's that. A little one on the rain. And one more I've got here, which is, well, it's another little longer story, Trooper Campbell by Henry Lawson. One day old Trooper Campbell rode out to Blackman's Run. His cap peak and his sabre were glancing in the sun. 'Twas New Year's Eve, and slowly across the ridges low, the sad old year was drifting to where the old years go. The trooper's mind was reading the love page of his life, his love for Mary Wiley, ere she was Blackman's wife. He sorrowed for the sorrows of the heart, a rival one, for he knew that out there was trouble, out there on Black Man's Run. The sapling shades had lengthened, the summer day was late, when Black Man met the trooper beyond the homestead gate. And if the hand of trouble can leave the lasting trace, the lines of care had come to stay on poor old Blackman's face. Not good today, Trooper Campbell. It's a bad, bad day for me. You are, of all the men on earth, the one I wish to see. The great black clouds of trouble above our homestead hang. That wild and restless boy of mine has joined Moderna's gang. Oh, save him, Campbell. Oh, save him, Campbell. I beg in friendship's name. For if they take and hang him, the wife would die of shame. Could Mary and her sisters hold up their heads again and face a woman's malice or claim the love of men? And if he does a murder, we all are better dead. Don't take him living, trooper, if a price be on his head. But shoot him, Campbell, when you meet him face to face, and save him from the gallows and us from that disgrace. Now, Tom, cried Trooper Campbell, you know your words are wild though he is and reckless, yet still he is your child. Bear up and face your trouble. Yes, meet her like a man, and tell the wife and daughters I'll save him if I can. The sad Australian sunset had faded in the west, but night brought darker shadows to hearts that could not rest. And Blackman's wife sat rocking and moaning in her chair. Oh, disgrace, the disgrace, she moaned. It's more than I can bear. In hardship and in trouble I struggle year by year to make my children better than any other children here. And if my son's a felon, how can I show my face? I cannot bear disgrace, my God. I cannot bear disgrace. Oh, God in heaven, pardon. I'm selfish in my woe. My boy is better-hearted than many that I know. I'll face whatever happens, and till his mother's dead, my foolish child shall find a place to lay his outlawed head. Sore-hearted Trooper Campbell rode out from Blackman's Run, nor noticed aught about him till 13 miles were done, when close beside a cutting he heard the click of locks and saw the rifle muzzles trained on him from the rocks. But suddenly a youth rode out, and close by Campbell's side, Don't fire in heaven's name! It's Campbell, boys!" he cried. Then one by one, in silence, the levelled rifles fell. For who'd shoot Trooper Campbell, of those who knew him well? On bravely sat old Campbell, no sign of fear he showed he. He slowly drew his carbine, it rested by his knee. The outlaws' guns were lifted, but none the silence broke, till steadfastly and firmly old Trooper Campbell spoke. "The boy that you would ruin goes home with me, my men, or some of us shall never ride through the gap again. You all know Trooper Campbell, and have you ever heard that bluff or lead could turn him or make him break his word? That reckless lad is playing a heartless villain's part. He knows that he's breaking his poor old mother's heart. He's going straight to ruin, but 'tis not that alone. He'll bring dishonour to a name that I'd be proud to own. I speak to you, McDermott, if your heart's not granite quite, and if you'd seen the trouble at Blackman's home tonight, you'd help me now, McDermott. I speak as man to man. I swore to save the foolish lad, and I'll save him if I can. Ah, take him, said McDermott. He's got a horse to ride. The youngster thought a moment, then rode to Campbell's side. Goodbye, young Blackman shouted, and up the range they sped. Lucky for the new year, Campbell, was all McDermott said. Then fast along the ridges 2 horsemen rode a race, to the moonlight lent a glory to Trooper Campbell's face. And ere the New Year's dawning, they reached the homestead gate. I found him, said the trooper, and not, thank God, too late. Wow, that's just given me like goosebumps all over the end of that. I'm just like totally right from my body. That's amazing. That's really a lovely story. Yeah, really. Yeah, noble. A decent policeman. Yeah, with a honour. All right. Well, would you like to come up, Gabriel?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, Gabriel Donleavy.
Hi, everybody. Last time I said I wouldn't see you for a fortnight, and here I am the following week because my meeting has been deferred.
With a razor head? Is that who this is?
This is indeed Eraserhead, Everything's All Right.
Yeah.
It's a very nice song by the girl in the Radiator.
Yeah.
Might bring that along sometime because it deserves a wider audience.
Everything is fine.
Now, my contributions tonight are connected. There's 4 of them. I'm going to do the last one I do for a while of Bob Dylan because after his early period, it's quite hard to find stuff that's really right up there in terms of lyric quality. And he himself says he doesn't know how he managed to write the stuff between 61 and 63. He doesn't say channeling or anything like that, but that's clearly the sort of thing he has in mind. And so I've got one last Dylan one now for you. And then last week it was the coronation of King Charles III, and my wife being a royalist, even though she's a citizen of a republic, 7 hours of that. And I managed to find a little moment.
That's poetic.
Managed to find a little moment in that may be worth wider attention, and that'll do last. In between, there's the poet laureate at the time of Charles II, and I'll read the last part of his poem about Cromwell, and that ties in directly with what I've composed about Charlie III. And then the second one I'm going to read is the current poet laureate, whose name is Simon Armitage. Started in Sheffield and then via Oxford became the poet laureate. And you would think, wouldn't you, that the coronation might include a poem by the poet laureate. It's one of the things he's for. Well, I didn't see one and I didn't hear one. So there's probably a story about that which I'll try and dig out and retell, because he's a very prolific writer, and I'm going to read out one of his more well-known ones. So that's it by way of introduction. Now the Bob Dylan one is called Subterranean Homesick Blues. Those of you who are over the age of about 55 may remember from the mid-60s the video of this where a young Bob Dylan is singing it, and it's the one where he's got the last words of the last line on a piece of paper and he throws them down, and this is that one. The other reason I'm including that, even though the quality isn't at the sublime level of the ones I've already done, it's still pretty good, and it anticipates rap, but by the way it does its rhythms, by a good 20 years. And this is Subterranean Homesick Blues. Here we go. John is in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. The man in a trench coat, badge out, laid off, says he's got a bad cough, wants to get it paid off. Look out, kid, it's something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. You better duck down the alleyway looking for a new friend, a man in a coonskin cap, in a pig pen, wants $11 bills, but you only got 10. Maggie comes fleetfoot, face full of black soot, talk in the heat pot, plants in the bed butt. The phone's tapped anyway. Maggie says that many say they must bust in early, mate. Orders from the DA. Look out, kid. Don't matter what you did. Walk on your tiptoes. Don't tie no bows. Better stay away from those that carry around a fire hose. Keep a clean nose. Watch the plain clothes. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Get sick, get well, hang around an inkwell, ring bell, hard to tell if anything is going to sell. Try hard, get barred, get back right, braille, get jail, jump bail, join the army if you fail. Look out, kid, you're going to get hit by losers, cheaters, six-time users. Hanging around the theatres, girl by the whirlpool is looking for a new fool. Don't follow leaders, watch the bargain meters. Get born, keep warm, short pants, romance, learn to dance. Get dressed, get blessed, try to be a success. Please her, please him, buy gifts. Don't steal, don't lift. 20 years of schooling and they put you on the day shift. Look out, kid, they keep it all hid. Better jump down a manhole, light yourself a candle. Don't wear sandals, try to avoid the scandals. Don't want to be a bum. You better chew gum, the pump don't work, cause the vandals took the handles. I don't know why that's the last line, but it is. And that's Dylan for a little while.
Brilliant bit of writing.
Oh, yeah. And now for something completely different. Simon Armitage, England's poet laureate, and this one, I'm sad to tell you, is free verse, but I'll try and find some rhythm in it. And this, for reasons that will become immediately obvious, is called Thank You for Waiting. Here we go. Thank you for waiting. Mediocre passengers. Oh, wait a minute. I've started in the middle because I've downloaded the app that's on it. Right, I'll start on the second verse because I don't know where the front page is. Thank you for waiting. We now invite Bronze Alliance members and passengers enrolled in our rare earth metals points and reward scheme to come forward. And thank you for waiting. Thank you for waiting. Accredited beautiful people may now board. Plus any gentleman carrying a copy of this month's Cigar Aficionado magazine. Plus subscribers to our Red Diamond, Black Opal or Blue Garnet promotion. We also welcome Sapphire, Ruby and Emerald members at this time, followed by Amethyst, Onyx, Obsidian, Jet, Topaz and Quartz members. Priority lane customers, fast track customers, chosen elite customers, preferred access customers and first among equals customers may now also board. Thank you for waiting. Mediocre passengers are now invited to board, followed by passengers lacking business acumen or genuine leadership potential, followed by people of little or no consequence, followed by people operating at a net fiscal loss as people. Those holding tickets for zones, rust, mulch, cardboard, puddle and sand might now want to begin gathering their tissues and crumbs prior to embarkation. Passengers either partially or wholly dependent on welfare or kindness, please have your travel coupons validated at the quarantine desk. Sweat, dust, shoddy, scurf, faeces, chaff, remnant, ash, pus, sludge, clinker, splinter and soot, all you people are now free to board.
Oh, brilliant.
It's quite likeable, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's something like it almost.
Yeah. I'll find some more of his because he's done a hell of a lot. And that was number 2, Poet Laureate. Poet Laureate's been going for a long time in England, and in the mid-17th century, in the Civil War, which decapitated Charles I, and when Oliver Cromwell died and his son said, I don't want this job, then Charles II was restored, and most of the jewels and stuff at the coronation of Charles III last week comes from the restoration time of Charles II. And I'm going to start in the middle of this one, but in this case it doesn't lose too much because the last part is really the point. This is by Andrew Marvell. What field of all the civil wars where his were not the deepest scars? And Hampton shows what part he had of wiser art, where twinning subtle fears with hope, he wove a net of such a scope that Charles himself might chase to Carisbrook's narrow case, that thence the royal actor born, the tragic scaffold might adorn, while around the armoured bands did clap their bloody hands. He nothing common did or mean upon that memorable scene, but with his keener eye the axe's edge did try, nor called the gods with vulgar spite to vindicate his helpless right, but bowed his comely head down as upon a bed. This was that memorable hour which first assured the forced power. So when they did design the Capitol's first line, a bleeding head where they begun did fright the architects to run, and yet in that the state foresaw its happy fate. And now the Irish are ashamed to see themselves in 1 year tamed. So much one man can do, that doth both act and know. They can affirm his praises best, and have, though overcome, confessed how good he is, how just, and fit for highest trust. Nor yet grown stiffer with command, but still in the Republic's hand. How fit he is to sway, that can so well obey. He to the Commons' feet presents a kingdom for his first year's rents, and what he may forbears his fame to make it theirs, and has his sword and spoils ungirt to lay them at the public's skirt. So when the falcon high falls heavy from the sky, she, having killed, no more to search, but on the green bough to perch, where, when he first does lure, the falconer has her sure. What may not then our isle presume, while victory his crest does plume? What may not others fear, if thus he crown each year a Caesar here ere long to Gaul, to Italy and Hannibal, and to all states not free shall climacteric be. The Pict no shelter now shall find within his party-coloured mind, but from his valour sad shrink underneath the plaid, happy if in the tufted brake the English hunter him mistake, nor lay his hounds in near the Caledonian deer. But thou, the war and fortune's son, march indefatigably on, and for the last effect still keep thy sword erect. Besides the force it has to fright the spirits of the shady night, the same arts that did gain a power must it maintain?
What a poem that is.
I like Andrew Marvell.
I don't think the Irish love that poem.
Well,
I love that poem, but the Irish don't love that poem.
it's not surprising if that's a period in history that they would, for very understandable reasons indeed, rather forget. And they certainly hate anything to do with Cromwell and a diplomatic incident. Last time even a painting reminded them of him, last year.
Last year?
Yeah, when a reception. Sword. There was a moment at the coronation of Charles III when the sword bearer, who'd been carrying it all the ceremony, passed it briefly to Charles,
Yeah.
and then passed it back. And Charles had been looking slightly worried, like he always does when he's in repose, but just plain. In that little moment,
He smiled.
no, that's what he didn't do. He frowned. He didn't like it. And my poem attempts to explain why.
Right.
Because there was another bit where he was like signing something and he got shitty at there was someone there. It's like,
That's right, but then he's already
got.
got an MO for not liking signing things with pens when the camera's on, right from the beginning. So this is called Sword and Spectre. Breathe out, the coronation of King Charles is done. This state occasion did not leave me numb, notwithstanding Canterbury's croak, that's the Archbishop, nor inspired by wet flag wearing folk, nor dazzled by the bling of royal jewels, nor by the many singers' merry duels. Consort Camilla, to our Queen, respect. Not now, guilty memories affect. The filial kiss implanted by the heir, or the smiling silence of the spare. That's Harry. Did history press more on a newer resident, the statuesque sword bearer, our Lord President? She dutifully lent the king the blade. He frowned as she had put him in the shade. I fancy that he asked in that split second if the hunt goddess had briefly beckoned. Minerva Mordaunt simply did her duty, perhaps aware of her own stately beauty. Diana, through her sword, briefly projected. King Charles felt it and accepted. Anointed, crowned, enthroned with orb and sceptre, King Charles kept his cool, accustomed to the spectre.
Bravo!
I'm going to work further on that. I'm on to some little something there. Cheers then.
thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Since we're on King Charles, I might as well got my not my king hashtag one. That's what else would you expect from me? You don't know who you are, far King Charles in the land so far. Only one man is my king. King Douglas Warren has a fine ring. Descended from a line that's true, humble, wise and loving too. A peaceful king is my dad. Always calm and never mad. Happy birthday, Dad. That was written on his coronation. Now there is a bit more to go with that, and this is a fact. And we've got my family tree dating back all the way to Eric the Conqueror, King Rollo the Dane, William Long Epée, and also King William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy. King Douglas Warren.
Well, really, unbroken line.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Free.
Yeah, I know. But because he came from Garenne, which is Garrenne, got shortened to Warren. They dropped the NE off the end, and That's how it sort of evolved when it went over.
Where is that? In Normandy?
Yeah. And the even more ironic is my second wedding was in Normandy to a Frenchwoman. Yeah. A little quick one here: comfort, failure, mediocrity, blame and shame, discomfort, success, excellence, responsibility and acclaim. Ashley Albanese. No. Now I was looking for another ruler for you today.
I got 3 in case I came. Well, as we're swinging along with comments about English culture and royalty, I will make the comment that we wouldn't be here tonight speaking English but for Admiral Blake and for government enterprise when Cromwell signed off on the development of a very powerful planned system of maritime and naval development in England under the Commonwealth of General Cromwell. And we wouldn't be here tonight chortling yay or nay about republics or kingdoms and realms but for Admiral Blake. One of my favourite historians used to say, if you wish to understand the modern, study Stalin, Napoleon and Cromwell. Well, Cromwell's been a presence here tonight, one way or another. Here are my mates, the 3 rulers, but because I've got into a historical spin, I'll neglect them this evening. What have I been reading? I am a playwright. I've got a pile of plays in a box. I've got to get them delivered. I've been reading these great stories of John Morrison's and trying to think where I put my hammer and chisel to go at the block of his classic story Pioneers, to give it a breathing, dramatic movement and spectacle on a stage, but also interest, because it's the most depressing effed thing you could ever imagine, although it's a great 30 or 35 page sketch. And it's a real challenge to me how to bring it to a stage with some glitter besides dust. If anyone's got a copy of this book, go to North Wind and Pioneers. They're both stories that are masterpieces. North Wind is novella length. Well, all that being said, James enthused me with his Arabic poetry because I used to sit as a kid in the garden with my dad and his mad Scots friends and their Arab labourers and listen to them yabber in a very peculiar sort of Scots Arabic. So it was part of my blood, I suppose. So the trigger of the bee and the honey and the forgiveness of pain if we get something succulent. I wrote this from my own experience in the bush. The great oblongs, white against flood and drought, yonder wait, past the tin mosque. The plain holds them beyond Burke Cemetery to be ginned and woofed and warped by the cotton factory spinning floor. And the mosque, half the size of each white cotton crop parcel, still echoes the believer's call. Recite in the name of our Lord who made man from blood clotted, who taught man by the pen that which he knows not. And the old tin Afghan mosque, still camels' shadows shift across dust swirls over the old corrugated sides. And I just got at the bottom there, Burke Cemetery, the year 2000. Anyway, I used to stand at that old mosque many a time saying my versions of prayer. And my brilliant but rather eccentric friend, Lawrence Kundabuka, or Lawrence, what was Lawrence's first name before he changed it after to his great-great-grandmother, who was a Kundabuka. His famous statue to the eye surgeon would stand behind me. But I think he had a conflict with the tribe there and they removed his masterpiece which was put up in Fred Hollow's memory. There I said there's a bit of politics, history and everything as I stood there saying my prayers and waiting for this poem to come upon me. So, and the mosque, half the size of each white cotton crop parcel, still echoes the believer's call, reciting the name of our Lord who made man from blood clotted, who taught man by the pen that which he knows not. And the old tin Afghan mosque, still camels' shadows shift across, dust swirls over corrugated sides of the old Burke Mosque.
That's a lovely thing.
Got a strange,
I really like that.
got a strange spectral presence. They took it over to the cemetery.
Mm.
Maybe it was there originally. Anyone at Burke watching, there may be somebody, because Burke watches. Maybe they built the cemetery around the mosque. And in my time, the Christian cemetery, and in my time, I'd stand and you'd look north and you'd get the great white oblongs of cotton from the gin ready to go off to maybe the shirt you're wearing, viewer out there in viewer land. All the connectedness of our Lord. Now, I will finish with a couple of things. I found this on the Guyra Poets Hall of Fame library, and I often seem to end up talking about Rudyard Kipling. Always intrigues me that he's just about Vladimir Putin's favourite writer, which does add up if you know Putin and you know Kipling. Now, the poem I was going to
Thin Red
read.
Line.
Sorry?
Thin Red Line?
No, I couldn't find the one. I know we're rabbiting on a bit, but I've got a great love that I couldn't find. The one where all the soldiers are on the gangplank, I think looking at their reflections in the water, crossing the line from Little England to big something or other. I couldn't find it. Maybe it's one of his other poems and not in that set of the Barrack Room Ballads. Okay, something Hollywoodish, but better than holly. It's pure wood rising up in chronic jungle splendour. There have been many song versions of this. The great Australian singer Peter Dawson, I think, did a classic version of Mandalay. So we're holding on the thread tonight of the professor's love of lyrics, which I can understand, and both the explicit and hidden and implicit rhythms inside, intraso and interso, all lyrics. Okay, Mandalay. I might sing this one day and whack up some guitar chords for it. Here, petticoat was yellow, a little cap was green, and her name was Soupy Yarat. Yes, the same as the Horse Queen. And I see the first a-smoking of a whacking white cheroot, and a waiting Christian kisses on an heathen idol's foot. Bloomin' idol made of mud, what they called the great gourd bud. Plucky lot she cared for idols when I kissed her where she stood on the road to Mandalay. When the mist was on the rice fields and the sun was dropping slow, she'd get a little banjo and she'd sing Kaloo-la-lo, with her arm upon me shoulder and a cheek agin me cheek. We used to watch the steamers and the hatters piling teak. Elephants a piling teak in the sludgy, spudgy creek where the silence hung that heavy you was half afraid to speak on the road to Mandalay. But that's all shoved behind me long ago and far away. And there ain't no buses running from the bank to Mandalay. And I'm learning here in London what the 10-year soldier tells. If you've heard the Easter calling, you won't never need naught else. No, you won't need nothing else. But them spicy garlic smells and the sunshine and the palm trees and the tinkly temple bells on the road to Mandalay. That has a particular bite for me because one of my sisters told me once that when my dad was on the last part of his innings, he said that had things been different and had he been allowed to, he would have stayed in Lebanon after the war. He loved it that much. So English and Australian and soldiers of the old empire, they often went to postings where they wanted to keep posting, and things wouldn't have worked out for him that well had he stayed in Lebanon, although I think perhaps they would have. He was very good at making money, and he would have made plenty. He was that rare mixture of businessman, semi-banker and warrior. Although Napoleon was somewhat of that sort.
Mandalay, by the way, is well worth a visit after the military is eventually kicked out, as I assume sooner or later will be. It's got the most charismatic temple I've ever seen. It's called the Temple of Books, and it's got tablets inscribed with Buddhist stuff on them, specially composed, not traditional press. And I went there when I was going to Mandalay, when I was she was in charge, 3 days in a row, because obviously I can't speak a word of Burmese. The charisma hits you like a fist in the face when you go there, this temple.
Yes,
Mandalay, fabulous.
I think the great attraction of Lebanon for Dad was girls. He loved the Arab girls, which is fair enough and human. But I don't think they smoked cheroots. Oh, maybe they did.
I should think they would have done.
Oh, well, back in 1940 they would have done. Yeah. And then he went from that luxurious lollipopping to standing on the Turkish border with Russian troops waiting for the Turks to attack them. And he always used to go on about how big the Russian troops were, and he was 6 foot easy, and still he found the Russian troops just sort of bears, really huge men they must have been. So the Turks didn't attack them, and he lived to suffer from malnutrition and malaria right through to the last 3-day battle at Boona and St Andrew at the end of the northern side of the track. And I gather if anyone's interested, though I couldn't face watching it in Anzac Week, there is a 2-hour documentary about that battle called A Brown Shade of Hell. And I'm sure my sort of dad gets a reference attacking the outlying gun battery that triggered the whole 3-day battle. Anyway, enough of Ralphie Boy and his love of dancing and girls and all of that. He was very wealthy, and he wanted to be a ballet dancer, not somebody having to pull triggers and aim projectiles at fellow human beings. Well, I will finish with something from the Han Dynasty by Suma Shangju, the Shanglin Park. Just a little bit of this. I opened it serendipitously, as I always do. But then, Chinese everything is the sort of a long, slow, 6,000-year river. So, Suma Shangju, the Shanglin Park. Have you not heard of the Shanglin Park of the Son of Heaven? To the east of it lies Sangwu, to the west the land of Cai-Chi. On its south runs the Cinnabar River, on its north the Purple Deeps. Within the park spring the Ba and Chan rivers. And though it flow the Ching and Wei, the Feng, the Hao, the Lao and the Chur, twisting and turning their way through the reaches of the park, 8 rivers coursing onward, spreading in different directions, each with its own form, north, south, east and west. They race and tumble, pouring through the chasms of Pepper Hill, skirting the banks of the river islets, winding through the cinnamon forests and across the broad meadows. In wild confusion they swirl along the bases of the tall hills, through the mouths of the narrow gorges, dashed upon boulders, maddened by winding escarpments, they writhe in anger, leaping, curling upward, jostling, eddying in great swells that surge and batter against each other. And I will finish with a visual because I didn't realise how much it relates to that. I spend a lot of my time, because I'm retired, throwing the I Ching. I do it in many forms and many dimensions, I think. And I often draw landscapes that come from the patterns of river, fire, mountain, lake. Heaven, above all heaven, even the twisting fire seethes up to heaven. So I sit and do that in my retirement, which I I think is a splendid thing to be about.
Which hexagram was that inspired?
I just follow the simple pattern of the wheel of 8 hexagrams. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, and I often find it more easily to interpret, I just do the tree-tiered trigram and don't do the 6, the hexagram. And I'll just do 4 3-level trigrams relating to my life or who I dream may come and sit next to me while I have my coffee and cream. Here, if you don't mind, you can hold them up so the audience don't get loaded. You can do it.
No, okay. All right, well, we've got
They
the
are
hypothesis, implication, and parameters.
Trigram. That's a trigram.
Is it?
Or test. You know how some of them muck around and say test. A parameter is a test, isn't it?
3 unbroken lines.
Yes, I'll relate to
Yeah.
that.
Heaven.
Yeah, so, all right, what have I got for you next? This was sort of based on, I don't know, protest. This week, after a long time, you might be aware I've got 3 books out: Love in Nimbin, Lust in Nimbin, and Poetry to End Prohibition, and they're all part of the Love and Lust in Nimbin series. And there's a few more, 3, 4 more books in that series. And this week I released book 4 in the series, Jan Bunk's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin. It's available on Amazon and as a Kindle, an ebook too, so you can get a thing. And I've got some on order, and they should be here in about a week or 2 once they're printed too. Yeah, so and it was interesting because this was when I was younger. I was in Greenpeace, worked for Greenpeace, the Wilderness Society. I went to protest, and I studied environmental science, and I was surrounded by caring lefties and all blah 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 yada yada, and did all of that. So just with this, I want to just preface this by every time there is an I in this, there is inverted commas for emphasis, because it's for emphasis of the ego kind of thing actually. I once wanted to change the world, and then I stopped. I changed myself, and guess what? The world's tops. The world changed and it's tops. Now I sit gratefully accepting and satisfied on reflection, wondering why I ranted, screamed and cried about the world, when all I truly needed was to change direction, have less affection, change myself, my state of being with the world. I let go of pride. Now, I let go. I can't stop the wind or snow, no matter how much I puff and blow, but I could grumble, I could cry, or I could draw a rainbow. In life, people are born, in life, people are die. I would rather celebrate life than rant, frustrated, cry and die. I once wanted to change the world, and then I stopped. I changed myself, and guess what? The world changed, and it's always changing, and it's tops. Change. That's what of Hermetic, also the Hermetic principle of like constant change too. And what else have I got for you? Here we go. Oh, okay. So, all right. Attempts to define the boundless are difficult to explain. However, confining the unexplainable to a definition appears an insane way to constrain. The leaves blowing windy eddies, clouds form, rain and die, but no matter how much I try, where is the start and the end of the sky? As we breathe in and out, the sky is part of everything. Nitrogen, oxygen and many other gases in the sky. Are birds swimming? The air is often silent, and other times the sky makes snows. I can't define or comprehend how far away the night sky goes. That's that.
Yeah, good.
Well, Confucius said, to catch running water in a bucket, don't forget that a bucket has its uses, but don't fall victim to its abuses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can't hold water in your hand, can you?
Quite,
Yeah,
quite zenny.
You have to have a bucket for the...
Yeah.
But then all of those things are words that are positive that conceal really negatives, like sky means don't know where the limit is. Infinity, don't know where the limit is. So putting a definition on something is kidding yourself and the audience that you've got a constraint. As really those words are negative words, not because
That's what it-
not ending.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what James was saying in his own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Parallel lines with both of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this will this next one is in four voices because it's they're P1, P2, P3, P4. It would actually be good if I had it printed and we had 4 people to do it.
Another time.
Another time, perhaps. Yeah.
Or if we stay at this number, one of us will have to double.
Oh well.
Oh, more people will roll up. It's just winter. And
Yeah. No, that's all right.
And the stress
I
of
do it.
doing-
I do it anyway because it's going to go with the Guardian.
Actually.
Right.
The Guardian. Paternalistic mouthpiece of Big Brother, hiding behind hiding behind narcissistic, maternalistic compassion like an Oedipal mother. The Guardian, gaslighting both the left and right with propaganda written and read day and night. The Guardian of the government, of the big pharma, of social control, the overbearing father. The Guardian of the gates, the Guardian of the jobs, the elite powerful kings, presidents and bureaucratic hobnobs. The Guardian of lies, the Guardian of confusion, the Guardian of disinformation with fake news accusations. The Guardian of doublespeak, untruths and also lies. A long and winding road is faster than the crow flies.
No, I don't like that poem.
No,
That's all right. Yeah, division of opinion.
Yeah, the Guardian.
But I'll listen to it. I'd listen to it again too. Read it again. Go on.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
on, read it.
The
again.
Guardian, paternalistic mouthpiece of Big Brother, hiding behind a narcissistic, maternalistic compassion like an Oedipal mother. The Guardian, gaslighting both the left and right, propaganda written read day and night. The Guardian of the government, of the big pharma, of social control, the overbearing father. The Guardian of the gates, the Guardian of the jobs, the elite, powerful kings, presidents, bureaucratic hobnobs. The Guardian of lies, guarding the confusion, the Guardian of disinformation with fake news accusations. The Guardian of doublespeak, untruths and also lies, a long and winding road is faster than the crow flies. So the Guardian of gates and jobs refers to Bill Gates and Steve Jobs there.
Do you mind giving condolences to the family of Joseph Klotz?
Not
just
at all,
because
yeah.
we said goodbye to him today at the
Yeah.
Service Club in Armadale, a fellow poet.
So
Your
yeah,
voice is
absolutely. Yeah, so with
Joseph
that, yeah,
Klotz.
it's Joseph Klotz. Yeah, big condolences to his family,
his
and
family and friends.
sorry for your loss from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame here.
I forgot to do that.
All right. Well, I've got one or two more just left for you before we go. Oh, will I do it or not? This one I did. Yeah, okay. This is the shittest poem in the world. It's called "It's a Load of Shit." It was written in 2019. It's based on the balcony scene of Romeo and Juliet, but taking the sounds of that and mixing it up and remixing it actually. So and I'll go through the original first. Title: It's a Load of Shit. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, or smell like shit, a rose you wouldn't want to eat. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks, it is the east and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou her maid art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious, her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off, it is my lady, oh, it is my love, oh, that she knew she were. It continues. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, or smell like shit, a rose you wouldn't want to eat. Bus stop, what bright new Hondas with no brakes, it is the beast and you'll be jetting to the sun. Surprise air fun, built Ted excellent spoon, who is rock steady tricky hail sand reef. Get cow turd, made fart carb off her banshee. Peanuts lemonade, banshee is gorgeous. Herb bestial ivory is but chick and agreeing, and some cutting tools chew carpet, cast iron too often. It is a melody, yo, it is a millet, yo, banshee spew sewer. That's it. The title, it's a load of title, it's a load of shit. And so it was attempting to rework the balcony scene with alliteration, but words that made absolutely no sense. So, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks becomes bus stop. What bright new Hondas with no brakes. It is the east and Juliet is the sun. It is the beast and you'll be jetting to the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. Surprise air fun and build Ted excellent spoon, who is already sick and pale with grief, who is rock steady tricky hail sand grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've basically done there. And so that's it. And I will read you one poem out of my newly released book just to give you a taste of it for what I've got. Janbung's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin. Now, Janbung is a Bundjalung word. The Bundjalung people are the Indigenous First Nations people of that area up near Nimbin. And Janbung means platypus. When I first arrived in Nimbin I went and saw Lewis Walker, and I said, who's one of the elders, and I said, where can I park and stay? And he said, I'll go up near Janbung Gardens. So I went up there, and 6 weeks later, once I got the bus going again, I moved out to a creek called Mulgam Creek. So at 11 o'clock one day I went down to the creek to, it was just before work on the 14th of January 2018, and I had dived in the creek, got wet, then rubbed all the mudstone and painted myself all over with mudstone, and that's how I used to wash myself. And I sat there to leave it dry on the edge of the creek, and then up came swimming a platypus, a little one. It was only probably about as long as my forearm, about 20 centimetres, and it came right up, and
You're kidding.
No, serious.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, because I was all covered in mud, and I was like not
Wow,
electromagnetic.
keep going,
Yeah.
sorry.
And it sort of was basically like I had to pull my feet up. It was within a foot, and then
a foot.
yeah, and it was feeding, and didn't know I was there, and then it went off that way, and then I went into the water, and that part of the creek went down a cascade that was about a foot deep, 1.5 meters wide, and I got down in the water behind it, and it was literally that far feeding in front of me while I was floating in this river for 5 minutes. It was incredible, yeah.
Envy that.
Yeah,
They avoid human beings
very
like
much,
that.
really. Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Mm.
Never heard of that before.
And this is what came out pretty much straight after.
Mm.
Down in the creek, the platypus lives on the fish and insects the water gives. Down in the creek, the platypus dreams of abundance in crystal clear streams. It's brown and furry with a duck-like nose with a tail that looks like a beaver goes. Webbed feet help it swim through the creek with a rubbery electromagnetic sensitive beak. The platypus's home is crude but good. He lives in a burrow by the creek that won't flood. Platypus lays its eggs underground. The babies are born in a burrow they're found. Platypus swims there in the creek with a great big rubbery beak. It has a mouth that's like a duckbill nose. It's got claws on its feet and spikes on its toes. Platypus's burrow underground where it lays its eggs, its babies are found. Platypus feeds its young on milk. From the mother comes this life-giving welcome. Welcome to earth here in the creek, says it to its young. We'll live here more than a week. You'll enjoy your life here every day, says the platypus dad to its young fella, hey. The platypus loves to have a swim, finds food in the water and dives right in. Janbung eats yabbies and shellfish too. The platypus is so different to me and you. There's nothing here on earth like the old platypi. How many millions of years, I can't say why. Because the platypus has that rubbery mouth beak and has never really learnt how to speak. It swims in the creek and it swims in the water. It teaches its sons like it teaches its daughter. It says, swim and be free. If you'll find your food in the creek, you can live here today and live here next week. You can swim in the creek and burrow underground, because here in the creek is where the best food is found. There's fresh water that falls from the rain in the hills. There's fresh rain from the waterfalls. Downward it spills to the billabong, to the creek waterhole where platypus lives, because that's what platypus do. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Fuck that. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, keep going. Yeah.
Really enjoyed
Up
it.
until the last line.
Yeah.
I looked up welcome while you were reading, welk or welcome, and it many meanings, an old English word meaning heaven or the sky. And also can mean food, I think, like you say welcome in the poem. But welk itself's got all sorts of meanings. We're getting the onion.
And then there's, oh look, I didn't do these last, there's the toilet limericks, 2 limericks. There once was a man called Pink who believed his shit didn't stink till he went to the loo where he did a big poo, and then Pink had to have a rethink. There was once was a woman named Sunny that went and shat after Pink in the dunny. She gave a loud yell, for the smell was not well, because Pink did a stink that was runny. Yeah.
That inspires me to write about Stalingrad, which got the smelliest.
You've been there?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the smelliest, most picturesque toilets you have ever seen.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Like they haven't been cleaned ever since the Victory
War.
Mm. Yeah.
It's a strange old story, the whole battle.
We were halfway up Ermarshan, there was like 2 boards off the mountain with a piece of thing and a great big skid mark down the side of the cliff. That was that was pretty interesting. Yeah. Mm. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, everybody out there, make sure you like it, subscribe, leave a comment, and yeah, buy the books in the link too. Yeah. All right, goodbye. We'll see you next week.